Welcome to another deep dive. This one is a little different from our usual fare.
Oh, how so?
Well, instead of a research paper or an article, we're diving into the experiences of a Spanish teacher, Professor Chavez, as she traveled through every single state in Mexico, all 32 of them. And get this, her travel journal is peppered with Spanish quizzes.
Wow, that's a pretty unique way to document a trip.
It is. It's like a travelogue meets a language learning course. We've got journal entries, pictures, and even some voice memos. It's going to be fun piecing together her adventure.
Sounds exciting. It's like we're learning and traveling right alongside her.
Exactly. And knowing Professor Chavez, she probably documented every taco she ate, every song she heard, every conversation she had. Before we get started, I think it'd be nice to get to know Professor Chavez a little better. She mentions in her notes that she loves Spanish music, pop music. Her favorite color is green.
Oh, that's sweet. Any other fun facts?
Oh yeah, she loves taking walks in the park with her son, Gustavo.
It's these little details that make it feel like we're getting to know a real person, not just a name on a page.
Right. Okay, so Professor Chavez starts her journey in Aguascalientes, and she lands right in the middle of the Feria Nacional de San Marcos.
Hold on, isn't that one of the biggest festivals in Mexico?
It is. It's one of the oldest and largest, actually. Dates back to the 1800s. Imagine vibrant streets packed with people, mariachi music in the air, and colorful decorations everywhere.
I can practically hear the music now.
Oh, and speaking of Aguascalientes, we can't forget about the food. Professor Chavez raves about the birria she had there.
Ah, birria. Now you're making me hungry. Isn't that a stew?
It is, but each region in Mexico has its own unique spin on it. Some use goat meat, some beef, and the spices and cooking methods very widely. It's a great example of how diverse Mexican cuisine is.
Absolutely. From what I've seen in her pictures, Professor Chavez seems to be experiencing Aguascalientes through art as well. She was quite taken by the work of José Guadalupe Posada.
You're right. His iconic La Catrina engravings, those skeletons dressed in fancy clothes, have become so symbolic of Day of the Dead.
It's interesting to think about what aspects of his work resonated with her the most. Was it the artistry itself, the cultural significance, or maybe even a personal connection?
Yeah, it makes you think. And knowing Professor Chavez, I bet she's finding ways to incorporate Posada's work into her Spanish classes. Imagine her students creating their own calaveras inspired by his style.
Now, that would be a fun lesson. Speaking of bringing her experiences back to the classroom, let's not forget about those Spanish quizzes she sprinkled throughout her travelogue. Are you up for a challenge?
Ooh, bring it on. I love a good quiz, especially when it's about Mexico.
Okay, here's your first question. La Feria Nacional de San Marcos se celebra en honor a. That translates to the National Fair of San Marcos is celebrated in honor of.
That's a tricky one. Let me see. Well, it is a religious festival, right? So it must be in honor of a saint. Is it San Marcos?
You got it. The Feria Nacional de San Marcos is indeed held in honor of Saint Mark the Evangelist.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about the food and the fun. There's a deep historical and religious aspect to it as well.
Exactly. It adds another layer of depth to Professor Chavez's experience there.
It does. Okay, so back to Professor Chavez. To top off her time in Aguascalientes, she attends a concert by Bronco.
Bronco. Aren't they that popular Mexican band known for gripera music?
The one and only. And knowing how much Professor Chavez loves music, I can only imagine how incredible that experience must have been, especially in the heart of the festival atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing quite like experiencing live music, especially in a setting like that. It's not just about the music itself. It's about the shared experience, the cultural connection, the energy of the crowd.
You said it. Okay, now from the heart of Mexico, she heads northwest to Baja California, and she starts off in Tijuana.
Tijuana, that's a city with a reputation. What stood out to you from her time there?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is her experience at a Julieta Venegas concert.
Julieta Venegas, I love her music. She's a really talented singer-songwriter, and her accordion playing is amazing.
Right. I think Professor Chavez, with her love for music and language, must have found that concert incredibly inspiring.
Oh, for sure. And it looks like she balanced that experience out with a bit of art and culture. She visited the Centro Cultural Tijuana, also known as CICIT.
Ah, yes, that prominent cultural center that showcases contemporary art. It's like she wanted to experience the energy and vibe of Tijuana, but also delve into its cultural and artistic side.
It definitely shows her diverse interests. So where to after Tijuana?
Well, she heads south to Ensenada.
Ensenada, I don't know much about it.
It's a coastal city known for its beautiful beaches and, you guessed it, amazing food.
Okay, I'm listening. What did she try?
Professor Chavez goes all out and tries the famous lobster of Puerto Nuevo, served with fresh, hot flour tortillas. She waved about it in her notes.
Oh man, that sounds incredible. Fresh lobster, warm tortillas, the ocean breeze. You're killing me here.
I know, right? It's amazing how food can transport you to a place, even if you've never been there.
Totally agree. So was it all beaches and lobster in Ensenada?
Not exactly. She also makes a stop at La Bufadora.
La Bufadora. Refresh my memory.
It's that marine geyser that shoots water high up into the air. It's a pretty impressive natural spectacle.
Oh, right. It's like a reminder of the raw power of nature.
Exactly. But then she takes a bit of a calmer turn and explores the Ruta del Vino.
Hold on, the wine route. They make wine in Baja California.
They do. And it's pretty good stuff, too. She was especially impressed by the Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot she tasted.
That's interesting. It's amazing how winemakers can adapt and thrive in such different environments. You know what I love about Professor Chavez's travelogue is how she always finds a way to incorporate music into her experiences. Did she mention any music in Ensenada?
Oh, she did. While she was enjoying the scenery and sipping wine, she was serenaded by banda music.
Banda music. That's that brass-based music from Sinaloa, right?
That's right. I can just picture her sitting there with a glass of wine as the sun sets over the vineyards, banda music filling the air. Pure bliss.
It sounds like it. Okay, so where does she head to after all that wine and music?
South to Baja California Sur. And this is where things get really exciting.
Oh, to tell.
Professor Chavez gets to swim with whale sharks in La Paz.
Wow, are you serious? Swimming with those gentle giants must have been absolutely incredible. What an experience.
I know, right? Talk about a bucket list moment. She describes it as being absolutely breathtaking, being in the water with those magnificent creatures.
I bet. It's a reminder that there's so much more to the world than what we see every day. So much to explore and experience. What else did she get up to in Baja California, sir?
Well, she also spent some time in Los Cabos. Long walks on the beach, soaking up the sun, that kind of thing.
Ah, Los Cabos. I can picture it now. Crystal clear waters, beautiful beaches. Sounds relaxing. Did she mention trying any of the local cuisine?
Of course, she couldn't resist trying almejas chocolates.
Almejas chocolates. What are those? Chocolate clams. Do they actually taste like chocolate?
Ha! No, not at all. Their shells are just a rich, dark brown color, resembling chocolate. She says they have a delicate, slightly sweet flavor.
Oh, interesting. I'm always fascinated by regional specialties like that.
Me too. And speaking of regional specialties, you can't forget about the fish tacos in Los Cabos.
Oh, right. Fish tacos are practically a requirement when you're on the coast of Mexico.
Exactly. She said they're a perfect fresh, flaky fish, crunchy cabbage, spicy salsa, all wrapped up in a warm corn tortilla.
You're making me hungry again, so it was all beaches and tacos in Los Cabos.
Well, she did visit the mission of San Jose del Cabo, step back in time to learn about the region's history.
It's always good to mix in a bit of history and culture. It adds another dimension to the travel experience.
Absolutely. And while she's exploring the coastline, she stumbles upon another natural wonder.
Oh. What is it this time?
The iconic arches of Los Cabos, those majestic rock formations that rise out of the sea.
Right, those are famous. I've seen pictures. They're incredible. It's amazing what nature can create.
I know, right? And you won't believe who she runs into in Los Cabos.
Okay, now you got me curious. Who is it?
Ana Gabriel, that famous Mexican singer. And get this, she serenades Professor Chavez on the beach.
Whoa, that's amazing. What are the chances? It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right? Talk about a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And what better way to enjoy a beautiful beach serenade than with fresh seafood and a stunning view of the arches?
She's living the dream. Okay, so where does this whirlwind adventure take her next?
From the sunny beaches of Baja California Sur, we journey with Professor Chavez to the historic walled city of Campeche.
Campeche. Now that's a place with some serious history. I'm excited to see what she discovers there.
I think what strikes me about Campeche is how its history is so present in its architecture. Those colonial walls and buildings, they're beautiful, but they also make you think about what they were built to protect against.
Right. It's like you can feel the weight of history there, the stories of battles fought and lives lived within those walls.
Professor Chavez, being Professor Chavez, she spends a good chunk of time exploring those fortifications. You can practically hear the echoes of cannons firing and soldiers defending the city.
I can just picture her soaking it all up, the history buff that she is.
But Campeche isn't just about the past, right? She also makes sure to enjoy the present, especially the food.
Oh, yes. Food. Tell me all about it.
So she indulges in some classic Yucatecan dishes, panuchos, and, wait for it, cochinita pibil.
Oh, cochinita pibil, that slow-roasted pork marinated in achiote and citrus. Didn't she mention finding a place that makes it the traditional way?
She did. Cooked in an underground pit wrapped in banana leaves. She even described the intoxicating aroma that filled the air. It's no wonder she raved about it in her notes.
I can practically smell it now. Smoky, earthy, and citrusy all at the same time.
I know, right? It sounds amazing. And as he's enjoying these culinary delights,
Yeah.
She's surrounded by the sounds of Jarana music and traditional dances.
It sounds like a feast for all the senses, a true cultural immersion.
It is. But the journey through time doesn't stop there. Professor Chavez takes it even further back with a visit to the ruins of Edzna.
Edzna, that Mayan archaeological site, the one with that incredible five-story Great Acropolis.
That's the one.
I wonder what went through her mind standing amidst those ancient ruins.
Well, she described it as a humbling experience, like feeling a deep connection to the past, a sense of awe at the ingenuity of the Mayan civilization.
It's those moments, right? Those realizations of how connected we are to those who came before us.
Exactly. And that sense of connection, I think, is what leads her to Chiapas next.
Chiapas, steeped in Mayan culture. It's a place where history and nature collide.
And Professor Chavez embraces it all. She starts off by exploring the ruins of Palenque, nestled deep in the jungle.
Palenque is magical. Those well-preserved hieroglyphics, they tell stories of Mayan history, their beliefs, their everyday lives.
It's like a window into a lost world.
It is. Did she head to San Cristobal de las Casas after that charming colonial city in the highlands?
She did, with its cobblestone streets, vibrant markets, oh, and the music.
Did she mention the marimba music? I hear it's everywhere in San Cristobal.
She did. She said the melodic sounds of marimba filled the air, creating such a lively atmosphere.
It's amazing how music can travel across continents and evolve over time, blending with local traditions.
It is. And speaking of blending and evolving, Professor Chavez has another culinary adventure in Chiapas.
Tell me, what did she discover this time?
Tamale de chipillan.
Tamales de chipillan. What are those?
Tamales made with chipillan leaves. Apparently it adds a distinct flavor, something like spinach, but a little earthier, nuttier.
It sounds delicious. I love how Professor Chavez is always seeking out these unique regional niches.
Oh, and she doesn't just stop at food. She also encounters the work of a hispanic painter named Javier Vargas.
His work must have really made her for her to mention it in her notes.
It did. She doesn't go into too much detail, but she says his paintings evoked such a strong sense of place, a feeling of being connected to Chiapas's history and traditions.
It sounds powerful. Sometimes art can speak to us in ways words can't.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's shared experiences that connect us, like the experience Professor Chavez had when she visited the Cañón de Sumidero.
Oh, that incredible canyon carved by the Grijalva River.
That's the one. She described feeling dwarfed by the sheer scale of it, those towering cliffs.
I've seen pictures. It's breathtaking.
It is. And there's more. She spotted crocodiles basking in the sun, monkeys swinging through the trees, even a whole bunch of exotic birds.
Wow, what a mix of landscapes and wildlife, from towering canyons to jungles teeming with life.
Exactly. Mexico's diversity never ceases to amaze. Okay, are you ready for our next stop?
Hit me with it. Where does she go next?
North to Chihuahua. Rugged mountains, vast deserts.
Chihuahua, home of the Copper Canyon. Is that where she's headed?
You know it. She takes a ride on the Chipe train, winding through those majestic mountains, taking in views of canyons, waterfalls, forests.
The Chepe train. That's a journey in itself. I've heard the views are incredible.
They are. She raved about them in her note. She even sketched some of the landscapes she saw.
I can just imagine her, notebook in hand, capturing the beauty of the Copper Canyon.
Oh, and she makes sure to fuel her explorations with some hearty Chihuahua cuisine. She made us burritos norteños. And you ready for this?
Always. Hit me.
Machaca con huevo.
Ah, machaca, that shredded, dried beef. A classic northern dish, perfect for a day of exploring.
Exactly. But her Chihuahua adventure doesn't end there. She also visits the Samalayuca dune fields.
Hold on, sand dunes in Chihuahua. I always think of it as mountainous.
It's a state of contrast, that's for sure. She describes this vast expanse of dunes, stretching as far as the eye can see.
It sounds almost surreal, like stepping into another world.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, ready for another shift in scenery.
Bring it on.
We're going to one of the most iconic cities in the world, Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City.
Ah, Mexico City, a melting pot of history, culture, food, and art. What's first on Professor Chavez's agenda?
Well, she starts off in the heart of the city, the Zocalo.
The Zocalo, that massive plaza surrounded by historical buildings. I can only imagine the energy there.
Oh, it's buzzy. She mentioned snapping photos like crazy, trying to capture it all.
I bet. It must be a photographer's dream. So where does she venture to after soaking up the energy of the Zocalo?
She heads to Coyoacan, one of those charming neighborhoods with cobblestone streets and colorful houses.
Ah, Coyoacan. Did she mention visiting the Frida Kahlo Museum, the Blue House?
She did. She said it was both inspiring and moving, seeing Kahlo's studio, her personal belongings, and her artwork displayed in the context of her home.
It must have been a very personal experience. It's amazing how a place can hold so much history and significance.
It is. Okay, you ready for another amazing experience?
Always. What is it? More food, more music.
How about a performance by the Ballet Folclórico de México?
Oh, wow, that's a treat. They're known for their vibrant performances, those colorful costumes, and intricate choreography.
She was blown away by it, described it as a true celebration of Mexican culture.
It's a performance that stays with you long after the curtain closes. A real feast for the senses.
Speaking of feasts, Professor Chavez did indulge in a classic Mexican treat while in Mexico City,
Let me guess. Churros.
and chocolate caliente.
A classic combination, those crispy churros dipped in thick, rich, hot chocolate. There's nothing quite like it. Okay, I'm ready for our next destination. Where does Professor Chavez's journey take her next?
From the bustling streets of Mexico City, we travel north to Coahuila, a state known for its rugged beauty and its unique culinary traditions.
Coahuila, that's in northern Mexico, right?
It is. First up is Cuatro Ciénegas.
Cuatro Ciénegas. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's a biosphere reserve with all sorts of unique plants and animals. She was especially fascinated by the gypsum dunes there.
Gypsum dunes, that sounds otherworldly.
She described them as something straight out of a science fiction movie, all white sand and shimmering pools.
Wow, what a contrast to the bustling city life she just experienced.
Right. Okay, then from this natural wonderland, she travels to Saltillo, the capital of Coahuila.
Saltido, isn't that known for? Is it cabrito?
You got it. She had cabrito al pastor, marinated and cooked on a stick, just like tacos al pastor.
Oh man, that sounds delicious. I love how she's always seeking out these regional specialties. Did she mention any music in Saltillo?
She did. She talks about experiencing some lively norteño music while she was there. Accordions, bajo sexto, that driving beat that gets you moving.
Norteño music is so full of energy, it's hard to sit still when you hear it.
I know, right? She also visited the Museum of the Desert while in Saltillo.
A museum dedicated to the desert. That's interesting. What does she think?
She loved it, especially the dinosaur exhibits. Fossils of dinosaurs that roamed the region millions of years ago. It's amazing to think about the history embedded in the landscape.
It is. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Okay, you ready for a change of pace?
Hit me. Beaches, mountains, jungles.
How about volcanic vistas and colonial charm? We're heading in Colima.
Colima. I haven't heard much about it. Tell me everything.
Well, Professor Chavez, being Professor Chavez, she starts off by hiking up an active volcano.
Whoa, hold on. An active volcano. That's hardcore.
I know, right? The Volcán de Fuego. She described it as exhilarating and awe-inspiring.
I bet. Standing on the edge of a volcano, looking down into the crater. I can only imagine. Did she see any lava?
She didn't mention any lava, but she did talk about the heat radiating from the earth.
Wow. So where did she go after that?
Well, after that adrenaline rush, she headed down to the coast, to Manzanillo.
Manzanillo, isn't that known for its beautiful beaches?
It is. She relaxed, soaked up the sun, and indulged in, what else?
Seafood.
Bingo. She had ceviche calamettes, a local variation with fresh fish marinated in lime juice, cilantro, onions, tomatoes, all those fresh flavors.
Sounds delicious. And refreshing. Perfect for a hot day on the coast.
And to quench her thirst, she tried something called tuba.
Tuba, what's that?
It's a traditional drink made from fermented coconut sap.
Huh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that one.
Professor Chavez said it was slightly sweet and tangy, very refreshing.
I'll have to try that sometime. So was Manzanillo her last stop in Colima?
Nope, she also ventured to Comala, a charming town in the foothills of the volcano.
I love those little towns nestled in the mountains. They have such a different vibe than the coastal cities.
Right. Professor Chavez described Comala as peaceful and picturesque, a place where you can wander the streets, admire the colonial architecture, and just soak up the tranquility of rural Mexico.
Sounds like a nice change of pace. Okay, I'm ready for our next destination. Where to now?
From the tranquil beauty of Colima, we journey to Durango.
Durango, known for, is it Western movies?
You got it. Rugged mountains, vast deserts. It's a place that embodies that Wild West spirit.
And I bet Professor Chavez dove headfirst into that rugged beauty.
She did. Her first stop is the Zona del Silencio.
Wait, the Zone of Silence, that mysterious desert region with all those stories about strange phenomena?
The one and only.
I've heard about that place. Some say it's an electromagnetic dead zone. Others claim it's a portal to another dimension.
Professor Chavez doesn't offer any explanations, but she does describe the landscape as both beautiful and eerie.
I can imagine. A vast, silent desert. It must feel like stepping into another world.
She then ventures to the city of Durango, the capital of the state. Beautiful colonial buildings, a vibrant cultural scene.
And of course, Caldillo Duranguense. I can't imagine her visiting Durango without trying that hearty stew.
Professor Chavez, she describes it as flavorful and satisfying, the perfect meal after a day exploring the desert.
Agreed. It's always interesting to see how regional dishes reflect the local ingredients and flavors.
Absolutely. And speaking of regional flavors, Professor Chavez couldn't resist a trip to Paseo del Viejo Oeste.
Hold on, Paseo del Viejo Este, isn't that a Western-themed amusement park?
You know it. And not just any amusement park. It's been used as a backdrop for tons of Hollywood films.
Oh, wow. So she got to walk in the footsteps of some of those iconic Western heroes.
She did. She said it was a fun and quirky experience, a little taste of Hollywood in the heart of Mexico.
It's fascinating how a place can be shaped by its history, both real and imagined.
Okay, are you ready for our next adventure?
Fire away. Where to now?
From the wild list of Durango, we travel to Guanajuato, a state known for its colorful colonial cities and its vibrant cultural scene.
Guanajuato. I've always wanted to visit there. I've heard the city of Guanajuato itself is absolutely stunning, built right into the slopes of a valley.
It is. Professor Chavez starts off by exploring the city, wandering through those narrow, winding streets. And guess how she gets a view of the city?
Let me think. Is it from one of those funiculars that climb up the hills?
You got it. She says the view is breathtaking. Colorful houses cascading down the hillsides, church towers and domes, punctuating the skyline.
It sounds magical. And speaking of magical, did she mention visiting the Callejón del Beso?
Of course. The Alley of the Kiss, that narrow alley where lovers supposedly share a kiss for 7 years of good luck.
It's a classic spot, full of romance and legend.
It is. But she doesn't just stick to the romantic side of Guanajuato. She also delves into its, let's say, spookier side.
Spooky. What do you mean?
She visits the Museo de las Momias, the Mummy Museum.
Oh, wow. The Mummy Museum. I've heard about that. It's supposed to be quite a sight. A little eerie, maybe?
She described it as fascinating but unsettling. A collection of naturally mummified bodies discovered in the city's cemeteries.
It's definitely a unique museum experience. It makes you think about our own mortality and the mysteries of what lies beyond.
Deep thoughts indeed. Okay, ready for our next stop?
Always. Where does Professor Chavez go next?
South, to Guerrero, land of beautiful beaches, lush mountains.
Guerrero. I've always wanted to visit Acapulco. It's a legendary city full of glamour and history.
Professor Chavez starts off her Guerrero adventure right there in Acapulco.
I bet she loved it. What did she see and do?
Well, of course, she had to witness the La Quebrada cliff divers.
Oh, wow. Those divers who leak from those crazy heights into the narrow inlet below.
Exactly. She said it was a heart-stopping experience watching those skilled divers plummet into the water.
It's a true test of courage and skill.
And from the adrenaline rush of the cliff divers, she heads inland to Taxco.
Taxco, the city of silver.
That's the one. Professor Chavez describes it as a city steeped in tradition and craftsmanship.
Oh, I bet she had a field day shopping for silver jewelry there.
I know, right? It sounds like a silver lover's paradise, but she also makes sure to experience the local flavors. You know what she tried?
I don't know. What was it?
Pozole Garance, another regional variation on that classic Mexican stew.
Oh, pozole. Every region seems to have its own unique take on it. I love that about Mexican cuisine.
Me too. And to wrap up her Guerrero adventure, she visits the Grutas de Cacahuamilpa.
The Cacahuamilpa caves, those stunning caverns with all the stalactites and stalagmites.
You know what? She said it was magical wandering through those underground chambers, marveling at the rock formation.
It's like stepping into another world, a world of darkness and beauty.
Okay, ready for our next destination?
Always ready. What's next on the itinerary?
We're headed to Hidalgo. Beautiful mountains, charming towns.
Hidalgo. I've heard they have some unique rock formations there. Anything ring a bell?
You're thinking of the Prismas basalticos, the basaltic prisms?
Ah, yes, those towering hexagonal columns of basalt rock.
She described it as an awe-inspiring sight.
It must be incredible to see those formations up close. Nature's architecture at its finest.
Exactly. And of course, no trip to Hidalgo would be complete without trying. Ready?
Hit me.
Pastes.
Pastes? What are pastes?
They're savory pastries, kind of a regional specialty. She describes them as a delicious and satisfying snack.
Sounds like the perfect fuel for hiking through those mountains.
She also visits Pachuca, the capital of Hidalgo, known for its mining history and vibrant cultural scene.
I've heard Pachuca is a city of contrasts, blending its mining past with a modern present.
That's exactly what Professor Chavez noticed. She said it was both charming and dynamic.
Okay, I'm ready for our next stop. Lead the way.
From the mountains of Hidalgo, we journey to, are you ready for this? Jalisco.
Jalisco, land of tequila and mariachi. I can't wait to hear about her adventures there.
And trust me, they're unforgettable. First stop, Guadalajara.
Ah, Guadalajara. Such a vibrant city full of energy and tradition. I bet Professor Chavez loved it.
She did. She spent some time in the Plaza de los Mariachis, surrounded by those iconic mariachi bands.
Oh, the music. There's nothing quite like being serenaded by a mariachi band. It just gets into your soul.
She described it as a magical experience.
I bet. So, did she venture outside of Guadalajara? Did she make a pilgrimage to tequila?
Of course. She wouldn't miss it for the world. She even visited a tequila distillery to learn about the whole process.
Wow, from agave to tequila? I bet that was fascinating.
She said she tried all sorts of tequilas from añejo to reposado.
Sounds like a tequila lover's dream.
And she didn't forget to try a local specialty to soak up all that tequila.
Ooh, what was it this time?
A torta ahogada.
Torta ahogada. Remind me what that is.
It's a crusty bread roll filled with pork and then drowned in a spicy tomato sauce.
Oh, right. I've heard they're delicious.
And to top it all off, she visited the Hospicio Cabañas in Guadalajara.
Wait, the Hospicio Cabañas, that UNESCO World Heritage Site with those amazing murals?
The one and only, you know, those murals by José Clemente Orozco?
Right. He was one of Mexico's most celebrated muralists.
Professor Chavez described the murals as both beautiful and moving, a powerful depiction of Mexican history and culture.
It's amazing how art can transport you to another time and place, evoke such strong emotions.
I know. Okay, ready to move on.
Always. Where does Professor Chavez take us next?
From the artistic wonders of Guadalajara, we journey to, you ready? The Estado de Mexico.
The state of Mexico. That's the state that surrounds Mexico City, right?
Yep, and Professor Chavez doesn't waste any time diving into the historical wonders. She visits Teotihuacan.
Oh, wow. Teotihuacan. The Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon. I've seen pictures, but I bet they're even more impressive in person.
Professor Chavez describes it as a humbling experience, standing in the shadow of those ancient pyramids.
You know, I've always wanted to visit Teotihuacan, to walk those ancient streets and imagine what life was like back then.
From Teotihuacan, she heads to Valle de Bravo, a charming town nestled in the mountains.
Valle de Bravo, known for its beautiful lake, right?
Yep, it's a popular spot for escaping the hustle and bustle of city life. Professor Chavez described it as a place where you can just relax, enjoy the scenery, and breathe in that fresh mountain air.
Sounds like a perfect getaway.
And she doesn't forget about the food. Of course, she tried trucha al ajillo, trout cooked with garlic, a classic mountain dish.
Simple yet delicious. You can't go wrong with fresh trout.
And finally, she visits Toluca, the capital of the Estado de Mexico.
Toluca, isn't that known for? Is it chorizo?
Among other things, yes. But she describes the city itself as a place where you can experience both the charm of a traditional Mexican city and the excitement of a modern metropolis.
Sounds like a city that's full of surprises.
Okay, you ready for this next stop? It's a special one.
Late on me.
We're headed to Professor Chavez's home state, Michoacan.
Michoacan, the birthplace of the Day of the Dead celebrations.
Exactly. And Professor Chavez dives right into the heart of it all, exploring the traditions, the flavors, and the music of her home state.
This is where her journey becomes even more personal. I can't wait to hear about her experiences.
Well, first things first, she heads straight to Pátzcuaro and Lake Pátzcuaro to experience Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead.
Pátzcuaro during Dia de Muertos. I've heard it's magical. All those candlelit processions and altars, the families gathering to remember their loved ones.
Professor Chavez describes a nighttime boat ride to Janitzio Island, the water reflecting the flickering candlelight from the ofrendas. It sounds absolutely breathtaking.
It must be a truly moving experience, a celebration of life and death, recognizing that they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And speaking of celebrations, she indulges in some regional specialties, corundas and tamarind atole.
Corundas. Remind me what those are.
They're a type of tamale unique to Michoacan, and tamarind atole is a warm drink, often served during special occasions.
It sounds like she's really savoring the flavors of her heritage.
She is. And then in Morelia, the capital of Michoacan, she has a series of encounters that, let's just say, make this leg of the journey extra special.
Ooh, I love those unexpected moments. What kind of encounters?
Well, first up is, get this, Juan Gabriel.
Wait, Juan Gabriel. The Juan
The
Gabriel.
one and only. They bond over their shared love for ranchera music.
Wow. Ranchera music is so full of emotion. It's no wonder it resonated with both of them.
And here's the kicker. Juan Gabriel dedicates a snippet of Querida to her.
I am speechless. What an incredible moment.
But the musical encounters don't stop there. Next up, she travels to Paracho, known as the town of guitars.
Paracho. I've heard about that place. It's a guitar lover's paradise.
And while she's there, she meets Los Tariacuri, that famous trio.
Los Tariacuri, masters of the traditional Michoacan sound.
They not only play for her, but they explain the importance of music in Michoacan's culture, how it's woven into everyday life. She even buys a handcrafted guitar as a souvenir.
I wonder if she'll play it for her students back in Texas. Imagine learning Spanish through the music of Michoacan.
That would be amazing. And if meeting Juan Gabriel and Los Tariacuri wasn't enough, she has a chance encounter with, wait for it, Marco Antonio Solis.
No way. Marco Antonio Solis, the king of romantic ballads.
Yep, they chat about his Michoacan roots and how her students actually sing his songs to learn Spanish.
Talk about a full circle moment. It's a testament to the power of music to connect people across borders and cultures.
It is. And to round out her Michoacan experience, Professor Chavez witnesses the Danza de los Viejitos, the dance of the old men.
Oh, that's a fun one. The dance where young men dress up as old men and poke fun at the aging process.
That's it. And she wraps up her time in Michoacan by meeting a descendant of Gertrudis Bocanegra, a local heroine who fought for Mexico's independence.
It's like she's connecting with the spirit of Michoacan, honoring its history and its heroes.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to have to pick up the pace a bit to get through the rest of Professor Chavez's journey.
I'm ready for a whirlwind tour.
All right, let's go. Next stop, Morelos, where Professor Chavez hikes up El Teposteco, a hilltop archaeological site. She describes it as challenging but worth it for the stunning views.
El Teposteco, the pyramid dedicated to the god of Pulque, right?
You got it. She also spent some time in Cuernavaca, the capital of Morelos, known for its beautiful gardens and colonial architecture.
Cuernavaca. I've heard it's a beautiful city full of flowers.
She described it as a place full of life and history.
Sounds lovely. Where to next?
We're heading to Nayarit, a state on the Pacific coast known for its beaches.
Beaches. Count me in.
She starts off in Sayulita, a surfer's paradise.
Sayulita. I've heard it's gotten really popular in recent years.
It has, but she says it's still got that laid-back vibe, and of course she enjoys the delicious seafood.
Seafood on the beach. It doesn't get much better than that.
Agreed. And then she visits a hidden beach, the hidden beach of Islas Marietas.
Wait, a hidden beach? How do you even get there?
She says you have to swim through a short tunnel to reach it.
Wow, that's amazing. It sounds like a true hidden gem.
Okay, next up, Nuevo León.
Nuevo León. I've always wanted to visit Monterrey. Isn't that known for its mountains?
It is. And Professor Chavez hikes up one of the most famous ones, Cerro de la Silla.
Cerro de la Silla. That's that mountain that looks like a saddle, right?
That's it. She said the views from the top were spectacular.
I bet you can see the whole city from up there.
She also explores Parque Fundidora, a former steel foundry that's been transformed into a park and cultural center.
Oh, that's a cool concept. I love when cities repurpose old industrial spaces like that.
And of course she visits Samacra Plaza, the main square in Monterrey, surrounded by all those historical buildings.
The Macro Plaza. That's a great place to people watch and soak up the energy of the city.
Okay, you ready for our next stop?
Hit me. Where to now?
We're going south to Oaxaca.
Oaxaca, land of vibrant indigenous culture, amazing food, and mezcal.
She starts off by diving headfirst into the Benito Juarez market.
Ah, the Benito Juarez market. A sensory overload in the best possible way.
She described it as a feast for the senses. All those colorful displays, the aromas, the sounds.
I love wandering through markets like that. It's the best way to get a taste of the local culture.
And speaking of taste, she tried some Oaxacan specialties.
Oh, what did she have? Mole, clayudas.
Clayudas, those large, crispy tortillas topped with all sorts of deliciousness.
Oh, yeah. Beans, cheese, meat. They're amazing.
She also visits Monte Alban, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Monte Alban, that ancient Zapotec city. I've always wanted to visit there.
She described it as impressive and mysterious. Those reminders of the ancient civilizations that once thrived in Mexico.
It's a place that's full of history and wonder. Host. It's amazing how art can transport you to another time and place, evoke such strong emotions.
It is. Okay, ready to move on.
Always. Where does Professor Chavez take us next?
From the artistic wonders of Guadalajara, we journey to, you ready? The Estado de Mexico.
The state of Mexico. That's the state that surrounds Mexico City, right?
Yep. And Professor Chavez doesn't waste any time diving into the historical wonders. She visits Teotihuacan.
Oh, wow, Teotihuacan. The Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon. I've seen pictures, but I bet they're even more impressive in person.
Professor Chavez describes it as a humbling experience, standing in the shadow of those ancient pyramids.
I've always wanted to visit Teotihuacan, to walk those ancient streets and imagine what life was like back then.
From Teotihuacan, she heads to Valle de Bravo, a charming town nestled in the mountains.
Valle de Bravo, known for its beautiful lake, right?
Yep, it's a popular spot for escaping the hustle and bustle of city life. Professor Chavez described it as a place where you can just relax, enjoy the scenery, and breathe in that fresh mountain air.
Sounds like a perfect getaway.
And she doesn't forget about the food, of course. She tried trucha al ajillo, trout cooked with garlic, a classic mountain dish.
Simple yet delicious. You can't go wrong with fresh trout.
And finally, she visits Toluca, the capital of the Estado de Mexico.
Toluca, isn't that known for? Is it chorizo?
Among other things, yes. But she describes the city itself as a place where you can experience both the charm of a traditional Mexican city and the excitement of a modern metropolis.
Sounds like a city that's full of surprises.
Okay, you ready for this next stop? It's a special one.
Lay it on me.
We're headed to Professor Chavez's home state, Michoacan.
Michoacan, the birthplace of the Day of the Dead celebrations.
Exactly. And Professor Chavez dives right into the heart of it all, exploring the traditions, the flavors, and the music of her home state.
This is where her journey becomes even more personal. I can't wait to hear about her experiences.
Well, first things first, she heads straight to Pátzcuaro and Lic Pátzcuaro to experience Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead.
Pátzcuaro during Dia de Muertos. I've heard it's magical. All those candlelit processions and altars, the families gathering to remember their loved ones.
Professor Chavez describes a nighttime boat ride to Junicio Island, the water reflecting the flickering candlelight from the ofrendas. It sounds absolutely breathtaking.
It must be a truly moving experience, a celebration of life and death, recognizing that they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And speaking of celebrations, she indulges in some regional specialties, corundas and tamarind atole.
Corundas, remind me what those are.
They're a type of tamale unique to Michoacan, and tamarind atole is a warm drink, often served during special occasions.
It sounds like she's really savoring the flavors of her heritage.
She is. And then in Morelia, the capital of Michoacan, she has a series of encounters that, let's just say, make this leg of the journey extra special.
Ooh, I love those unexpected moments. What kind of encounters?
Well, first up is, get this, Juan Gabriel,
Wait, Juan Gabriel, the Juan Gabriel.
the one and only. They bond over their shared love for ranchera music.
Wow. Ranchera music is so full of emotion. It's no wonder it resonated with both of them.
And here's the kicker, Juan Gabriel dedicates a snippet of Querida to her.
I'm speechless. What an incredible moment.
But the musical encounters don't stop there. Next up, she travels to Paracho, known as the town of guitars.
Paracho. I've heard about that place. It's a guitar lover's paradise.
And while she's there, she meets Los Tariacori, that famous trio.
Los Tariacuri, masters of the traditional Michoacan sound.
They not only play for her, but they explain the importance of music in Michoacan's culture, how it's woven into everyday life. She even buys a handcrafted guitar as a souvenir.
I wonder if she'll play it for her students back in Texas. Imagine learning Spanish through the music of Michoacan.
That would be amazing. And if meeting Juan Gabriel and Los Tariacori wasn't enough, she has a chance encounter with, wait for it, Marco Antonio Solis.
No way. Marco Antonio Solis, the king of romantic ballads.
Yep, they chat about his Michoacan roots and how her students actually sing his songs to learn Spanish.
Talk about a full circle moment. It's a testament to the power of music to connect people across borders and cultures.
It is. And to round out her Michoacan experience, Professor Chavez witnesses the Danza de los Viejitos, the dance of the old men.
Oh, that's a fun one. The dance where young men dress up as old men and poke fun at the aging process.
That's it. And she wraps up her time in Michoacan by meeting a descendant of Gertrudis Bocanegra, a local heroine who fought for Mexico's independence.
It's like she's connecting with the spirit of Michoacan, honoring its history and its heroes.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to have to pick up the pace a bit to get through the rest of Professor Chavez's journey. She still has 26 states to go.
Wow, 26 states. That's a lot of ground to cover.
It is, but trust me, her experiences in each state are just as fascinating and insightful. She visits Morelos and climbs El Teposteca, a hilltop archaeological site, and explores the vibrant city of Cuernavaca. In Nayarit, she enjoys the beautiful beaches of Sayulita, discovers a hidden beach, and indulges in fresh seafood.
It sounds like she's experiencing all the best that Mexico has to offer, from ancient ruins and bustling cities to tranquil beaches and charming mountain towns.
She is. In Nuevo León, she hikes up Cerro de la Silla in Monterrey and explores Parque Fumidora. She also visits Oaxaca and its bustling Benito Juarez market, takes in the impressive ruins of Monte Alban, and of course enjoys some delicious tlayudas.
I can only imagine the sights, the smells, the sounds. It's like a sensory feast.
It is. She then travels to Puebla, admires the colonial architecture, and visits the Great Pyramid of Cholula. In Querétaro, she explores the charming colonial city and learns about the state's role in the Mexican War of Independence. Then it's on to Quintana Roo, where she soaked up the sun in Cancun and visits the Mayan ruins of Tulum.
Wow, she's really covering a lot of ground.
She is. Professor Chavez also explores San Luis Potosí and its stunning Huasteca Potosina region, indulges in delicious seafood in Sinaloa, experiences the stark beauty of the Sonoran Desert, delves into ancient Olmec history in Tabasco, and enjoys the vibrant culture of Tamaulipas.
It's incredible how much diversity she's experiencing, from the landscapes and the architecture to the food and the music.
It is. Her journey also takes her to Tlaxcala with its well-preserved murals at Cacactla, Veracruz with its lively music scene, Yucatan with its Mayan ruins and unique culinary traditions, and finally Zacatecas with its charming colonial cities and stunning views. 32 states, each with its own unique story to tell.
What an incredible journey.
Professor Chavez's exploration of Mexico is a testament to her adventurous spirit, her love for learning, and her deep appreciation for Mexican culture. She didn't just visit these places, she immersed herself in the experiences, connected with the people, and embraced the spirit of each destination.
It's a reminder that travel is about more than just checking places off a list. It's about opening yourself up to new experiences, new perspectives, and new connections.
It's about discovering the beauty and the wonder that exists in every corner of the world. So, dear listener, if you could follow in Professor Chavez's footsteps, where would your journey take you? What adventures would you seek out? What stories would you discover?
Mexico is a country that's full of surprises, a place where history, culture, and nature collide to create something truly special. It's a country that's waiting to be explored, a story waiting to be told.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.